The Wellness Show, episode 188. Welcome to The Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyhson Banighen, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. Welcome to the Wellness Show, and this is Tyhson Banighen, the Illuminator, the Energy Detective, back with you. And we're interviewing Chris Lee. He's on a return visit to the show. And the topic of discussion today is life in the past lane. And we've had some discussions around this because how to talk about the elimination of fears and phobias and how to get your life back. All that funny noise is Chris adjusting his Mickey Mouse ears, but welcome, Chris, to the show.
They were falling off. Okay. Great. Thanks, Tyhson. Good to see you again. It's been, last year? I think it was last summer, or I can't recall offhand. But I'm, as I mentioned before, but I'll do it again, is that I'm down in Mazaland for the winter. Today is kind of a poor day. It's cloudy and only 27 Celsius. And for your American friends, it's about 80 Fahrenheit. So, but I look back at, we live near Windsor, Ontario, across from Detroit. And it's the lowest part of Canada, so usually it's a bit not as bad there. But it's been about up to minus 18, which is unusual. So it's good to be down here for 5 months. And most of my work is done on the internet, and so I don't have to be anywhere particular, like cold.
So have you rented a place down there? Do you rent the same place, or you go back to the same area every year, or how do you make that work?
Okay. Yeah, no, last year we came down for 7 weeks just to check it out. We were going to go to Colombia, but came here instead, and we liked it. We had rented a one-bedroom apartment. This time we're renting a home actually owned by some people in Edmonton, and it's a 4-bedroom house and with 3 bathrooms in, because I do some training here in my sessions, some sessions locally. There's actually over 25,000 you call it expats or gringos, Americans and Canadians that stay down here. So we find that they often have nothing to do. So in fact, tomorrow I've got a talk at what they call El Recreo. It's like the recreation old building that they hold movies and talks, etc. So I'm doing one tomorrow. So it should be interesting. But and I'm also working on book number 4 of my series, Life in the Past Lane, which I obviously took from the song Life in the Fast Lane.
So let's, so where are you in the 4th book? Which one are you writing now?
Well, the first, just to explain a bit again, the first book is Life in the Past Lane. It was my main one. It's a little bit thicker, and it's on case histories. And it was a bit of a variety of subjects, from aches, pains, fears, phobias, emotions, debilitating emotions, that type of thing. I didn't realize till I was writing it that I had way too many case histories for one book, unless you want to write, like War and Peace times 3. So my second book, which was the fears and phobias, was supposed to be in the first one, but just didn't fit. So I decided to make a series. So each one is still called Life in the Past Lane. Second one, fears and phobias. Third one, aches and pains. Now the fourth one is going to be a little bit of a difference. It's called the crimes against humanity. I was going to call it atrocities to people, but it was suggested it sound a bit too blunt. It's to do with the case histories of people that have, in the sessions, because I make a lot of notes, have been in dungeons, World War II concentration camps, the serial killers, a number of neat things like that. Just choking there. And what it is I do get people that say, well, that's kind of gory. Well, unfortunately, that's how we were back in the old days. But it's not to do with the gore. It's to explain how a lot of our symptoms in our current life come from the memories of those places that we haven't finished with. We don't remember that being in them, because that's the way the subconscious works. But for example, dungeons, I found that a lot of people that chew their fingernails often was from a dungeon life, because I know it's hard to believe, but they didn't feed you very well in the dungeons. So a lot of people chewed their nails. Leaky bladder comes from not having washrooms, and they wouldn't let you off the chains anyways. IBS, your irritable bowel syndrome, is actually from, again, not very good food they gave you. Constipation, fear of rats, because they somehow seem to have them running around. Even libido. Now, first time I heard that word, I thought that was some kind of dance or something. But it's affected by dungeons, because unfortunately, as a female or dungeon prisoners often were assaulted by the guards, often daily, so that affects how you bring stuff into your current life and affects it. So that's that one. The fifth one actually is
Let me just interrupt, because it's a very interesting topic, mainly because we had a lady through the Dowsing Energy Healing Facebook group wanted to know about, could dowsing help with dealing with psychopaths, because she was finding that in court system, psychopaths were able to pretty well get away with continuing perpetrating their crimes, and also could return to the families and continue their abuse, and sometimes sexual abuse. So it was interesting to have that conversation about, the past life and the influence that that has, and what we can do from that point of view. So what you're talking about is a very powerful body of information that most people in our culture have no idea whatsoever about, and how much it bleeds through into the present lifetime and affects us both, either the perpetrator of the crime or the victim or the rescuer. So thank you for bringing that up. It's a very powerful topic, and I think your book will shed some light on what we don't really want to talk about in our.
Actually, I should back up a pinch to explain why this affects us. Now, as I mentioned before last time, is that with my system, when I first took my training, it was just doing hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy only deals with current life issues, what you did younger, that type of thing, which I found is absolutely nothing to do with 99% of your concerns, which is aches, pains, fears, phobias, etc. So when I had seen a demonstration of it, and I wasn't sure, I was quite blown away with it, and realized that there is something there. You can think, at my talks, I do a talk for 2 hours, like this is a bit of it. And the first thing I really stress, especially for the male there, because men were a bit more, not going to see it for real, it's a skeptical type thing, is that I don't care if you believe in it or not. It's irrelevant. What it is that if you have an ache or pain or something you've had all your life, and I do a session with you, which is just deep relaxation. You sit in the chair, your eyes are closed, just that when you're deeply relaxed, your conscious can get to the subconscious memories. I just ask the correct questions. I do not tell people what they were in a past life for a couple of reasons. One, I haven't got a clue what you were in a past life. Second is, how the heck would it help you? Telling you a gypsy, is that going to make you dance better? It's just amusement. Those people that do read and say that, I'm sure they're quite accurate, but again, it doesn't help you. So what I do is just say, let your subconscious take you back to the cause. I don't have to say past life, a cause of why you got that pain in your shoulder for the last 20 years. Within seconds, in your mind's eye, your subconscious will take you to the exact memory that it came from, because that's how it is. It's been from a memory. And you could be seeing yourself maybe as a knight riding on a battle, and you just got a big sword that took off your arm. I'll say, which one is it? I never lead, and they say the right arm. And where did the weapon hit you? Right in the right shoulder. And then I'll say, is that where your pain is? And they said, yes, that's where it's always been. And then I'll say to them within seconds, I'll say, move your shoulder around. The look on people's face, their eyes are closed, but the look on people's faces is so priceless. This is one of my little quirks that I love about this, is the big look on their face of, it doesn't hurt. It's been hurting for all these years. There might be just a slight residue because the muscle's been held tight for so many years, but it'll be like on a scale of 0 to 10, right off the bat, it'll be about a 2, like 0 is gone. And within a couple of days, I go down to 0. Now, the point is that you could think you made it up. You could think your imagination did it. It doesn't matter. The pain goes. That's how it works. How this works exactly, Tyson, I get people ask me, I have to say the same thing to them. I don't know. It just works. And if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And I have worked and done this thousands of clients, and it all works the same way. So even a person that's not sure about this has to go, there might be something there. But again, it's a modality. You do not have to believe in it. So what I've found is, though, when you have a life lesson to learn, I read a couple of good books with Michael Newton, Life Between Lives, and the other one he does. And there's some very interesting facts. So I follow up and go, let's check it out. Sure enough, he was right. And what it is that apparently we have lessons to learn, okay? Now, a lot of people have heard that. I'm sure you've heard that, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So what happens is
we're all going to school and all the rest of that.
Yeah. So the way it seems to work is that we have a soul group, we get together, we say, let's go learn this lesson. You're the bad guy, you're the good guy. It's like, people in a play.
Yeah.
And unless it's a chick flick, there's always the bad guy. And what happens is, apparently, is when we come into the human form, because the human body is designed that way, we immediately don't remember what the lesson is. That's a good thing, because if you knew what the lesson was, it'd be like having the script in your hand. You wouldn't learn much if you got the answers. So what happened, though, is that often we don't finish that lesson for two reasons. One, we get killed too soon, or we just decide to go the wrong direction. And like, if you were supposed to be like a Mother Teresa and you became a serial killer, I think you went the wrong direction. And unfortunately, that lesson's not done. And I've also seen it happen this way, is that when you don't finish a lesson, it doesn't go away. It's still there. You come back the next life. Now, you might have a couple other things to learn, but you're still getting pulled back by the ones you haven't finished. And often they get in your way. So what happened, though, is that if, for example, like the pain in the shoulder, what happened is that maybe in that life he got killed, he wasn't finished it. For some reason, your subconscious does affect your body system to duplicate the pain or ache or fear that occurred when you didn't finish that life lesson. Again, I don't know why, but what happens is that's why when I say move that arm, and you've seen where it comes from, that's why you let go. You still have to finish the lesson. There's no two ways about it, but you don't have to bring in the part, the ache and pain that gets in your way. It inhibits you from finishing. Like if your lesson was to save somebody's life on a mountain and you got a fear of heights that you had nothing to do with in this life, brought it in, it's going to screw up your life lesson, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So I have a question. Do you think that the reoccurring accidents can happen from lifetime to lifetime, like wounding that can continue from one lifetime to another? Have you had any experience with that?
You mean a reoccurring? Oh, I can see reoccurring.
There's a concept of the wounded warrior. So there's that concept or that stereotype or archetype of the wounded warrior. So if you got that imprinted in one lifetime, that the only way that you could, be the wounded warrior. So every lifetime you come back, get yourself wounded in the same way. So
yeah, I see what you mean now. I didn't quite think of it that way. I think more like certainly fears and phobias. You get the same fear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I got that. It makes perfect sense that would reoccur lifetime after lifetime until you learn the lesson, and then it's over, right? It's done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's gone. You just move on. Apparently, according to Michael Newton, and I do see it a bit, is that once we learn our lessons, you see, we're energy. Normally, we're energy. I keep it very generic. I don't get into a lot of the stuff that just get people not to come to my talks. I call it energy. Now, the point is that why do we come into the human form is because energy, we have to learn lessons. We cannot feel in energy aches and pains. That's one of the things. From what I've also heard, and I've followed that up, is the human body is basically, without our energy coming in with our past life and our experiences and all that kind of stuff, is basically better than an ape. We come in, it's like putting a computer into a robot. That's why often, for example, when somebody's falling to their death and they know you're going to be dead, quite often our energy will just leave before we hit the ground, because there's not much to learn hitting, that splat when you hit the ground. So we do leave, but we come in, and that's why, again, I've got three brothers. We all have different talents, likes, dislikes, yet we've all had the same parents. So it's nothing to do with them. It's just what we've had before. And we choose our family and our parents. I get a guy the other day said, what the heck would I pick my parents for? I said, I don't know, but you did. Like if you're to learn something, like say for example, you got to learn to be abused in this life. Well, you're going to pick a family line that already does this. Like the grandfather did this and this father and the son, because it's like, oh, I got to learn. And because if it was random, he'd be like saying, oh my God, I got the happy couple again. I'll never learn it from them. I'll have to wait another 84 years to get to another life. We'd be here doing it all the time. Even with people that say, well, I've got cancer or I got diabetes, not because it's like that weakness in that gene of that family or something. That's because, or what happened is you picked it. You're supposed to learn something to do with that, whether not to get it or what to do with it, that type of thing. So we do pick where we're going to go and who and that type of thing. But the whole thing is that if you don't get time to finish it or screw it up, it doesn't go away. So that's where I come in. Again, I don't explain why you had to do this, what's it all about, what you had to learn. My system is simply, let's get rid of the debilitating emotions, the aches, pains, fears, worries that are getting in your way. The biggest ache I've had is people have is lower back. That's the easiest one to fix. A fellow came to see me one day and he had 12 years. He had very bad lower back pain. In the session I can take you to 2 to 5 different things. It's not like you have to come in once a week for the next 2 years and don't get fixed, but I get a new Mercedes out of it. No, it's done so quickly. And I said, we went to the life that caused it. Then I said, move around in the chair. And he said, whoa, did you hear that? And it was the biggest crack I've ever heard. And he said, wow. And I said, that'll happen quite often. Your bones are going back into joint because they've been held wrong to make that hurt. When he stood up after the session, he said, this is the tallest I've stood in 12 years. Pain was gone. Again, my end of it is the look on people's faces. It's just priceless. I used to think at first, like, is it going to get better? Now I just go, how much better is it? And it's always better. Not always a 0 initially, but never goes from 10 to 9. It goes down. There's occasion where it could be 2 lives in the same area. Because like if you got a pain in your neck, could have been 2 different lives and 2 different sides of your neck. So sometimes it requires checking out both. There's a lot of people out there, for example, have what I call the turtleneck syndrome. And people go, what the heck is that? It means is that they can't wear turtlenecks or have people touch their neck or have anything close to it. And that's about 40% of the population. It's because they've either been hung, strangled, or beheaded. Once they see that, they could wear a turtleneck again. We might even start making turtlenecks that said I couldn't wear them before until I saw Chris Lee or something, but that's kind of tacky sort of thing. But the main thing is that it's a simple system. There's no like, knock 3 times or spin or, it's so simple. You come in, I like people to see my talk first so that when they come in, they're not going for the next half hour, why is he doing this? Why is he saying that? Because if you're asking yourself while I'm working with you, it means you're not relaxed. You're thinking. They don't go together. In fact, I cannot even do what I do to myself because I can't ask myself questions like, what kind of a day is it? Or who's nearby you? I'd have to think, wouldn't I? So I cannot do it to myself. I do have people I've trained. I do have some students out there, and I get them to usually work with me. In fact, I'm training one here in March from Vancouver Island. She's taking advantage of coming down to Mazatlan, and that's, like I said, I got a house with lots of bedrooms. So I include the accommodation. So she's coming down. The tour, I'm going to be doing a new tour, a newer tour. Like I've done the same one, Life in the Past Lane, for so long. It's just like some areas I've been to, like 4 or 5 times. Well, it's like I'm not a comedian where I write new material every time I see you. It's just I only do one thing. But I'm going to make it a bit more specific. I'm going to focus more on the fears and phobias. because as you're well aware, in aches and pains, there is medicine, there is, pills that people take, and plus hypochondriacs like to brag about how many pills they take or how much their pain. And how long can a friend tell you the same ache that they've had in their arm for the last 5 years before you finally get tired of listening to it, pretending that you care? Go do something with it. They don't usually want to. They want to talk about it. Like on Facebook, I see people often that say, "Oh, I'm not feeling too good today," and then you'll have about 30 of their friends going, "Oh, you poor dear," or "You should try this, you should try that." The more you talk about it, the more you keep it up. That's how hypochondria works. But what I'm leading to is that, yes, I do help people with aches and pains, but there is no medicine really out there for fears and phobias, is there?
No, not that I know of.
Yeah, you can take some pills for, like to calm you down, but that just causes you to have, usually more pills, pills for the side effects from the pills you're taking, that type of thing. So I'm concentrating more on that, because also as I said, I have 131 fears that I've worked with my clients, and a lot of them are just onesies, like fear of closet doors being open when they're sleeping, that kind of stuff. That's because somebody hid in it and killed them. But the 4 top fears, let's see do you have people calling in at all?
Yeah, I have people calling in on, not today, but certainly in my healing hour. They do.
Okay. What I was going to say is, let's see what I was going to say is that guess what the top 4 fears are. Now, I've already given you a clue. The heights is the number 1. What do you think 2, 3, and 4 are?
Oh, I would think that, well, some people say the biggest fear is the fear of death.
Actually, not. People that come to see me to do with past lives have no fear of death. They already know that you come back again. I think out of the 131, I think I got 2 people that fear of death. No, that's not it. No, okay. Actually, number 2, I had actually discounted it at first because I was doing more specific things. Fear of success is number 2.
Wow.
So number 3, I'll get back to 2. Number 3 is actually deep water, drowning. And number 4 is claustrophobia.
Wow. Yeah, I would never have thought of that. Never thought of that. No.
Yeah, no. But the fear of heights, success, basically or self-sabotage. I get tons of people that they get a fear, what if they become successful and doesn't feel comfortable or what have you. Roughly how it worked is that they got killed in past lives from being rich or successful. And when you got that life not finished and you bring into it this life, just like the ache in your shoulder, you bring in that don't get too rich or too successful, you're going to get killed. Your subconscious doesn't really have a right or wrong. It just works on the stuff that you haven't finished. It affects you because, again, the conscious basically is spinning around 3 times faster than the subconscious, so it doesn't really, it's hard to connect the two. Deeper relaxed does help. And also with what I do, it makes it even deeper and easier to remember. And in a session, you remember everything. I get people that say, well, can I record it? And I'll say, why? Because one said, I want to know what I said. And I said, are you leaving? Are you going to stay for the session? Because it's that misconception that there's la la land, you're going to float away. There's none of that stuff. That's part of what I do. My talk is about is to first I'll explain that hypnosis is deep relaxation. I'll say to people, here's how this works. In fact, I tell people, you're in hypnosis 5 to 20 times per day. And that's how we exist because, and I'll explain. I say to people, do you remember high school? And you get, usually a few laughs, and somebody says, no. That's what then I'll say, if you do remember high school, did you have a boring subject and you daydream through it? And the answer is always, yeah, laughs, hands up. Well, daydreaming is hypnosis. You slow down, you're still aware. If you're in class, you got to make sure the teacher doesn't catch you not paying attention. So you're still there, but just if you slow down and you picture, I'd like to be on a beach, all of a sudden you see the palm trees in your mind and all. That's how this works. Now, those palm trees you didn't make up. You thought you might have made it up, but I guarantee you it's a palm tree you've seen somewhere, not necessarily in this life, but either way, you bring up memories. So nobody forces you. And another one is that, have you ever watched TV, Tyson, or read a book so intently you don't hear people talking to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's hypnosis, because deep focus, single focus concentration. And to really show people how hypnosis works, I'll say, have anybody slept here in the last 24 hours? Slept in the last 24 hours, not necessarily here. And of course we have. Sleep is hypnosis. How much deeper relaxation can you get? So yes, if you have to memorize something, we use hypnosis. We find it a lot easier to go over and over, concentrate, not listen to anything else. And we remember it better. That's using hypnosis for an advantage. So we use hypnosis all the time. And the last thing, pardon me, to explain hypnosis, why people have this fear is because they've seen hypnotist shows. Have you ever seen a hypnotist show?
Yeah, it's really like a clown act. It's really making ridiculousness out of people.
It's called entertainment. That was the big thing. See, I'm not a hypnotist. I think that is that's on the stage. I'm a hypnotherapist. I use therapy and hypnosis to help. So what happened is a lot of people explain, and this is why 84% of people at my talk end up booking a session, because I eliminate their fear of loss of control. What happened is on stage, first of all, it's called volunteer. There's a law against dragging people on stage and tying them and holding them there. It doesn't happen. They're not allowed to do that. It's voluntary. Second is that the people that the hypnotist likes to use are in a classification called mine went. Took me a year to pronounce the word. I'll get to it. Oh God, I really got a length there. They're the type of people that there's only 10%. It just disappeared. Anywho, that's how much I really care about the word. So what happened was they're already in hypnosis. Like they like having fun. They're actually very little, they're not self-conscious sort of thing. They're like that already. Going on stage, I almost got it. I tried to sneak up on him. And what happened is that on stage, they're acting sillier.
Is the word symbiosis? No.
Syndobalistic, something like that. That was really weird. So anyhow, and so what happened is that, see, when they're on stage, people are acting the age of 7 or 8 or younger, because that's when our conscious, subconscious separate. When we're before that age, they're together. So that's why we have a lot of fun and don't care. And when you get a little bit 7 or 8, that's when logic comes in. That's when parents start teaching you stuff. Doesn't matter, mean that it's correct, but anyhow. So what happened is that if you really, now to use logic, when people watch the people on stage, they're 100% aware of what they're doing. They just don't care. Somnambulistic, I got it. Somnamblistic. Okay, so if you don't pay attention, you get it. Yeah, one of them. So anyhow, here's my logic. I tell people, ask people, have you watched the show, one of these hypnotist shows, intently enough that you notice that they send people off? And so many people say, yeah, I watched that. Wonder why they do that. Then I say, here's some logic for you. This is why also they bring up at least 20 people, because they will lose some, is that if that person on stage is under the control, that's why I do not say, when people say, am I going to go under in my session? I say under the table, under the chair, where do you want? Under implies under somebody's control. You don't go under up daydreaming, do you? You go into. So when people are up on stage and they think they're under his control, well, then why do they send them off? It's because they're not. And kids can get bored. So if kids getting bored, they're not going to play around. They just sit there like bumps in the log, and that doesn't look good for the hypnotist show. So he will say, thank you for coming up, and away you go. So that's a good way of explaining it. Like headlines in a newspaper, 6 more banks robbed by hypnotist. Hello, it doesn't work that way. Nobody can make you do anything. What a load of crap. Besides, I tell people, if that could be done, if I could do that, why am I not down in Las Vegas where there's a lot more money, and hypnotize the dealers to let them give me my money? Because it doesn't happen. Good old TV likes to dramatize and make it entertainment. So like you said, it's just making fun. They're already having fun anyways. So once I explain that, and in a session, you're totally aware. One guy, in fact, he finished the session. I remember this older guy. He said, you know what, he leans forward, because we chat afterwards, the eyes open. He says, you took care of all 4 of my concerns. Then he looked around like he's telling me a secret with people that don't want them to hear. He said, I was here all the time. I said, yes, I watched you. You didn't leave. Like, hello. You don't disappear. You're totally aware. It's just that when I talk, in fact, during the session, we can kibitz and stuff like that. It's just that for some reason, when you slow down, you can answer the questions. And they always take you to the correct life you're being affected from. There's no maybe once out of one out. No, always. Very simple system. That's why I do have people I've trained. No magic, none of this. I saw TV they're doing a demonstration of past life. First of all, you had the lady. It was a guy, the hypnotherapist, with the doctor's outfit on. Like, get a grip. We're not medical doctors. He had the girl laying down at an angle on a table. That is one of the dumbest things, pardon my French, because when you have somebody laying down, our subconscious works on automatic, habits. When you lay down, it's sleep time. Hard to talk to people when they're sleeping. Also, when you're sitting up, you have more control. You're always aware that you could, you're not trapped. It's also why I have my clients sit between me and the door so that when they're closed, they're not going, well, what if I get blocked? No, you set up the whole thing so it's always in their favor. But anyhow, he took the girl through a number of things, through different periods, and then go through the purple mist. He said, you're going to see a purple mist. Where do they come up with this stuff? There's no purple mist. I say, go to that past life. You're there. It's a logical computer. And occasionally we get people, though, that think they made it up. Or I say to them, first of all, you're not bright enough. They go,
you can figure that out, right?
Yeah, because here's how this works, Tyson. If I ask you a question like, what year is this happening in? And you go, I'm going to say 1802, just to screw them up. Where does the 1802 come from? The conscious doesn't have a memory. It gets it from the subconscious. It's just a processor. The conscious has never been to a past life. It gets it. Now, it gets it from the subconscious. Subconscious, which has no right or wrong, is going to give it the correct answer anyway. So if you thought I made up 1802, it was 1802. Okay.
So I have a question for you. I'm curious.
Sure.
With regard to this, you're getting the client to relax, and you're getting them out of their monkey mind or their chatter or their and you're calming them down. And you say that you can't do this for yourself because you can't ask the questions in order to get the answer, if I understood you correctly.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is the subconscious has access to everything. Absolutely every memory is there. It's like an eternal record of almost every breath you've taken and every experience.
Exactly.
So we would have access to that information if we actually learn the techniques that you teach people, which is self-hypnosis, which is allowing yourself to be calm enough to bypass your rational mind to be able to get the answer. So is that correct or not correct?
That's not correct, no. We're not clever enough. That's again why I can't do this. If we slowed ourselves down, yes. In fact, people in meditation sometimes see a past life, but they'll just see a cute thing and they, oh, there I am riding a horse. Well, that's nothing to do with your ache in your shoulder. I take you to the specific ones, but I can't say to myself, let myself take me back to, the cause of my, like an ingrown toenail or whatever, because I'd have to slow down and then I'd have to give you the answer. I'd be talking to myself, and it doesn't work. It's just, we can't slow down and ask yourself questions, because I have to ask you a different question. I have to be on top of things. Like it might be that there's somebody behind you and you say, oh, I sense somebody around. Then I'll say, turn around. Well, I wouldn't necessarily thought of that if I'm doing it to myself, because it just doesn't work. No, it has to be done with somebody like myself.
So what about accessing information rather than trying to get to the root of a phobia or a fear or, some sort of crisis like that? What about actually, it seems to me that what you're getting at is similar to what some people would call guidance, or getting to that place where they can have a connection to that part of themselves that is more eternal or more all-knowing, whether you call it the subconscious, whether you call it your higher self, or on your underself or whatever. It's out of your you're out of your mind, so to speak. You're out of your rational mind. I love that term, You're out of your mind. Yeah. And maybe it's a good idea to get out of your mind because it's not necessarily your friend. But anyway, does that make any sense?
That could happen, but it doesn't. I don't come across that. No.
Yeah.
One thing, a recurring past life often will be a recurring nightmare.
Yeah.
When I say to people, anybody had a nightmare, and they'll say yes, or a recurring dream, I call it first of all. Then I'll say, were they nice? Nobody says yes. You don't get reoccurring nice dreams. You get reoccurring scary ones, because your subconscious is showing. When you're sleeping, your conscious subconscious are totally together. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because you slow down. That's how we go to sleep. We come down to the point where our conscious slows down to the same speed as subconscious, and we're there. In fact, backing up for a moment, that's also a good way, and I've just been making use of it more so since I've been doing this, is that processing. You ever had a time where you couldn't figure out what to do about a situation, but after a good night's sleep, you wake up with ideas? Ever had that?
Yeah, I think that's the basis of all science, is that aha.
Yeah, because what's happened is you've in your conscious, you're going, I've got to figure out what to do about such and such. When your subconscious and your conscious together, that's when the subconscious, here's the interesting thing, in a session, your conscious, when I deal with you, we're working minute to minute. But when you're dealing in your subconscious, it can show your conscious whole life in a matter of hours, that type of thing, like fast speed. And why, I don't know. But anyhow, it'll show you while you're sleeping, the conscious, more stuff about how to handle the situation from maybe other lives that you've had that experience from. So when you wake up in the morning, I used to do it too, but I've now known better. I used to think, whoa, I got a great idea. Hello, it was given to you while you're sleeping. Mm-hmm. But that's what you make use of. That's called processing. So what happens, though, is that when you, that's why I'm saying when I say zero pain from 10 down to 0, and you say about a 2, then I'll be fine, because that 2 will go down to 0 over the next few days, because your subconscious will fill in the rest of that life, because maybe you have a 60-year-old life. We don't have, obviously, 60 years to sit there and talk about it, because I'm sure the time you're sleeping and what you had for lunch is totally, boring. So that's why I direct that you're still going to take you to the correct point. Right. Of that concern, so that we're not zinging through the whole life. So what I'm saying is that while you're sleeping, the subconscious is showing the conscious this recurring dream, which is quite prevalent and scary, but just that your conscious isn't designed for this. When your conscious, which has nothing to do, doesn't know anything about that past life, when it hears this information, it doesn't have a clue. It's there to try and help you. So that's why we wake up with the screaming or that type of thing. But when I work with you and we go to a life, and remember I said down to say 2 out of the 10, and then when you go to sleep, your subconscious now says, here's the rest of that life. Your conscious, which is now aware of that situation, will say, good, show me, rather than let me out of here. Mm-hmm. So that's how the processing works. But if you do have concerns, just think about them and just tell yourself that I will have an answer in the morning, and it will happen, because your subconscious does what you tell it. Just have to. It doesn't make up or know what you mean by expressions. It takes it literally. So you have to say, I want the answer. Just like you can actually reprogram yourself, Tyson. Your subconscious can be reprogrammed to, because it works off of junk that we've repeated over and over. Like, I have a bad memory. Well, we actually have a good memory. We just screwed up by hearing people tell you things like, you'll never remember this, you'll remember that, or you got to study to be smart, cram for exams, or the biggest stupid one is, oh, you're getting older, you're going to start forgetting stuff. They've proven that age has nothing to do with memory. It's just believing that piece of crap. Anywho, what happens is that you can reprogram your conscious to, say, improve your memory for about 3 weeks straight. Before you go to bed, I tell people to say to people, I used to say I have a good memory, but I say now I have total recall. You do this for about 3 weeks, you can reprogram, because your subconscious cannot hold a positive and a negative at the same time. Just simple things. It already had the positive that you do have a good memory, so it's very easy to kick out the negative. One of my male doctor friends, he wanted to remember his dreams. Now, most people wake up and, like, I might remember a few, or they evaporate after a while. There are some people that can actually change them while they're sleeping, like my wife. But what happened is for about 3 weeks, he just simply said before he went to sleep, I remember my dreams. Never say I want to or I will. That's BS. Your subconscious has to have a positive, because it'll say when. I'm going to remember my dreams. When, if you say I remember my dreams, even though it hasn't happened, it adjusts to make it come true, or what it is. That's why I tell people, say you have a perfect memory. If you, even when people that are about money, never say I want this, or I'm going to be rich, because that's about the same thing. The biggest mantra I've heard, and that was through, I think it was through Greg, what's that? Greg, I have a good memory, I'll remember. But anyhow, is I have enough. Just simply do that mantra, I have enough. Your subconscious will adjust so that whatever you have will be enough. So it'll adjust it to make sure what you have is enough. So I've been working on that too. So it's amazing what you do, but no, you can't quite. People. Well, actually, funny. One of my students said when people say to her, "It's all in your mind," she says, "Yes, it is. It's all in your mind." Yeah, that's where it is.
Yeah, that's
so
all.
How much time?
Well, I'm finding this really.
I don't want to run over.
I think what would be really interesting is how to use what you're learning, not just to remove phobias and fears and doubts and all that, which I think is really important, because there's no doubt that most are overshadowed by all the things we picked up from whatever we've been taught when we were kids, or school teachers, or whatever, that you can't remember, or you have to work hard to succeed, or only the successful are, or whatever the story is, right? That those endless stories are really what are binding us up and holding us into, well, let's call it the matrix. So I think it's really important, but equally more important or interesting, I would think, would be to, hello, Laurie, we're in the middle.
Oh, I see a name, Laurie Garber.
I just kicked her out. I have, I'm going to be doing a show at 3:00, so maybe they're jumping on early. We're going to do a show on crystal skulls. But I think... Oh,
yeah, I saw that, yeah.
I think the whole thing about that fascinates me in the work that you're doing, Chris, is you're really creating a manual for how to access your subconscious mind as a friend to get you from where you are to where you want to be in the shortest amount of time with the most benevolent outcome for all concerned. And to me, that's very exciting. Like, they're really giving you the people keys to their kingdom, their inner kingdom, and freeing them from the thought forms that are holding them in their own dungeon or prison, like you were said, which are their phobias and their fears. So that largest subject really fascinates me. And I think because you work with so many clients, you're getting a real handle about how to approach the subconscious, how to literally turn the key, open the door, and have it as, I don't know, benevolent friend. I don't know how to find the words, but I think you get what I'm getting at.
Yeah, because it's just a simple thing. Like a girl came to see me last year in Winnipeg, and I was doing a big talk there, and she said that she had a fear of deep water. Now, remember I said that's number 3. And what it was is that she had gone to a person that does reading. Now, a reader probably tells you correct, but this guy said to her, "You died, you're right, you drowned in 4 past lives." Now, that's interesting. I'm sure he did see them. And I said, why are you coming to see me? He says, because I still have that fear. I said, okay. Now, in a session, I said, let yourself go and take you back to the cause. Not all 4 of them, because they're not causes. That's why you got it in this life. It's not a cause this life. It just carried over. It was one of those 4. And once she saw where it came from, she has no more fear. What it is that I am in this tour. I'm going to be doing some of the bigger cities, Western Canada and Eastern Canada, I think maybe England too, is to have, I call it my new talk, it's called Take Back Your Life. And it's partly because of that fear of success, that type of thing. Because it's affecting your quality of life. I felt like one guy saw me many years ago. He said, I got a fear of heights. Heard you take care of people. And I said, sure. He said, but I don't believe in past lives. So I said, so, fine. I don't care. In his past life, making it pretty short, is that he, in his mind's eye, saw himself as a native Indian standing on a cliff, a sunny day, And he said, whoa, is this ever a good imagination I got? And I said, good, that's fine. Tell me what you see. And then I said, but is it a past life now, do you think, or imagination? Oh, it's my imagination. He said, wait a minute. Another native Indian guy has come up behind him and pushed him off. And he's falling. And he said, that's not very nice. I said, probably isn't. But the thing that caught me was humorous is that he was following it in his mind's eye, following the path of the guy falling down. And then all of a sudden he went, it's not bothering me. Because see, somebody with a fear, a strong fear, doesn't even like to talk about it because it triggers the butterflies, the sweats, that type of thing. So what happened was he said, whoa. And he followed it. Now, we talked about, did a couple other things. And at the end, I said, chatting, I says, how's your fear of heights? And he goes, I said, picture a scene that bothers you. And he goes, it doesn't bother me. I said, was it your past life, do you think, or your imagination? And he says, I don't know. I said, does it matter? He said, no. I said, did it affect your current life? He said, yes. Looking at a picture of a mountain, he gets the butterflies. He could not take his kids to Disneyland. He could not go with his kids to ski. It was screwing up his quality of life. I got an email from him about 3 years later. He said he's got tons of fun having skiing. Now, nothing's changed per se. It's just that he got rid of it. It's affected his quality of life. And one more thing with heights, just leading to the beginning, was he said that, I decided to listen to people and face my fears. Now, let me explain. That's BS. These things about facing your fears, I'll explain why in a moment. I said, what did you do? And he says, I went skydiving. I said, well, that's certainly one way of doing it. And I said, how's your fear of heights? And he says, well, I still can't climb ladders. I think it didn't help. Took him to a past life, it's disappeared, it's gone. The difference is I work on cause and effect, Tyson. Cause and effect. If you get stress, I've heard people do get that, but stress can cause headaches. I'm sure you've heard of that too. When you take an aspirin, does that affect their headache? Does it help your headache? Quite likely. But it doesn't take care of the stress, did it?
No, it probably makes you less. It makes you have less money. Is about what it does.
That's a good one. Hey, speaking of that, okay. Well, I go after the cause. Migraines are definitely past life. My brother, he hasn't had a migraine since 1997, and he had them all his growing up years. He had been shot through the head during a couple of wars, and his migraine started exactly the same spots that he got shot. And how that works. But a lot of people that I work with and fix them, like we don't use the word cure, eliminate, fix them up. You don't always notice that something's gone unless it came back. Like a noisy party that started up and it finally, when the noise could stop, but you don't notice it stopped until it starts again. She had emailed me and said that she hadn't had a migraine. She forgot for 18 months since she had seen me. She forgot about it until one of her friends was whining about how much her friend was paying for migraine pills. They're $25 to $50 each. What a ripoff. And does it fix you? It numbs you. It doesn't get rid of it. Cause and effect. That's what my system takes care of. Cause, not the effect. So when I work with aches and pain or fears and phobias, they're not facing your fears, not numbing it. I take care of them. People don't have them anymore. So on my tour, where it basically called Take Back Your Life, in other words, take back, like the guy with the skiing. He couldn't go skiing. He took his life back by getting rid of it. He can now enjoy his life. And success. So it's to do with eliminating your fears and phobias and and gaining back your success, because a lot of success being killed in a past life often affects you. I had a fellow one time, he was working in the stock market. He had a business of his own, but he was working in the stock market. This is a few years ago, and he was up to almost $1 million in assets. Almost $1 million. And all of a sudden, he said, I started doing the stupidest things, making decisions I would never have made, and he just about lost it all. Wanted to know what happened. Sure enough, there was 2 past lives, actually, that were affecting him. Yes, he had been rich in a different life and they got killed because back in the old days they didn't have CSI, so bad guys got away with it, and that was what affecting him. So after that session, last I heard, he said he was getting his money all back again. So that's your success. Sometimes people sabotage. Remember I said he was making stupid decisions, sabotaging. That happens a lot. So that's one of the main things. I am going to be out in BC, but unfortunately I won't be quite in your area unless you could get a big group together.
Well, I'm going to see if I can get you invited for the spring to maybe the Questers conference in Red Deer. So I don't know what your schedule is like. And I will see if I can arrange that. We'll see if that can happen. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, Chris, how do people get hold of you and how do they work with you?
Okay. Glad you asked. Okay. First of all, my website is pastlifewrap.com. So Past Life, R-A-P. It's a short form for regression and progression because it was too long. pastlifewrap.com. And to email me, you just put the CL at pastlifewrap.com. I have the 3 books available. They are in a few stores, but I published them myself and I like using them, giving them out at events. So, in fact, some of the events, what I do is that you get in for free after you buy a book, okay, that type of thing. But they're not like a how-to book. They're more just interesting case histories. But when I get back home, if somebody wants to order one, just email me and I mail them. I mail them out to like New Zealand, Australia, England, States, Canada. So, and plus I'll sign it for you. And that's what I do. So CL, that stands for Chris Lee, at pastlifewrap.com.
All right. It was great to have you on the show. And if you wouldn't mind, type up some show notes for me with the links for your books and how to get hold of you. So we'll include that in the actual show, underneath the show, in the notes, so people can get hold of you and follow you and get themselves free of all of their phobias and fears. So thank you, Chris. Great having a conversation with you. And bye for now.
Thank you, Tyson. Take care. Bye for now.
For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, thewellnessstore.ca and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at thewellnessacademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at thewellnessshow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.